Welcome to Numismatic Vault, the channel where coins aren't just spare change, they're hidden treasures waiting to be found. In today's video, we're diving deep into the world of rare and valuable Lincoln pennies. Some of these coins are worth far more than you'd ever imagine, and the best part, they could be sitting in your pocket or coin jar right now. So get ready, because by the end of this video, you might be looking at your change in a whole new way. So on. Top 1 today, we're turning our attention to one of the most collected, most beloved, and sometimes most surprising coins in American history, the Lincoln penny. But not just any Lincoln penny. In this video, we'll be focusing on the year 1980, a year that might seem fairly ordinary at first glance, but one that has given us some truly incredible discoveries that coin collectors still talk about today. So if you're holding on to some old pennies, or maybe you've seen one tucked away in a jar of change, stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share may just change the way you look at your pocket change forever. The Lincoln penny has been a part of American life for well over a century. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this coin quickly became a staple in our daily transactions. By 1980, the Lincoln Cent had already been in circulation for more than 70 years. People had grown up with it, used it countless times, and for many, it was just another coin in their pocket. But for collectors, each year tells a new story, and each penny has the potential to hold secrets hidden in plain sight. Let's start with the design. The obverse, or front of the coin, features the familiar bust of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. By 1980, this design had become an American classic. You'll see Lincoln's profile facing right, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," arching above his head, "Liberty," to his left, and the year 1980 neatly placed to the right. Depending on where the coin was minted, you may also find a small D mint mark for Denver or no mint mark at all, which means it was produced in Philadelphia. On the reverse of the 1980 penny, we see the grand image of the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparo that had been introduced in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. This design is rich with symbolism. If you look closely, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a small but powerful detail that makes this coin design so special. Above the memorial, you'll find the words, "United States of America," along with the famous motto, "E pluribus unum," meaning, out of many, one. Below the memorial are the words, 1 cent, reminding us of the coin's denomination. Now, in 1980, millions upon millions of these pennies were minted. Both Philadelphia and Denver struck huge quantities to meet the needs of the nation. With such high numbers, it's easy to think that a coin from 1980 could never be rare. But here's where the story takes a turn. Not every penny is created equal. In fact, some of these coins stand out so dramatically, whether because of condition, errors, or unusual varieties, that they can command staggering values in the collector's market. Let's talk about condition first. Most pennies you'll find from 1980 are heavily circulated. They've been dropped, scratched, and worn down through decades of use. These circulated coins are common and usually worth only their face value. But when a 1980 penny is preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, with a sharp strike and brilliant luster, collectors take notice. High-grade examples certified by professional grading services can sell for impressive premiums, but what really excites collectors are the error coins. And 1980 gave us some spectacular examples. One of the most famous is the double die obverse, where the inscriptions, like "Liberty" or even parts of Lincoln's face, appear doubled under magnification. This error happens during the minting process, and it creates a coin that's one of a kind. Another sought-after variety involves off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin wasn't properly aligned during striking. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the higher the value. There are also die cracks, clipped planchets, and even repunched mint marks from the Denver Mint that collectors actively search for. Each of these errors transforms what might seem like an ordinary penny into a rare and desirable treasure. Now, let's add another layer of interest. The year 1980 falls into a fascinating transitional period in the history of the Lincoln Cent. Up until 1982, pennies were still being struck primarily from copper. Each coin weighed 3.11 grams and had a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. After 1982, the mint switched to a primarily zinc composition with just a thin copper coating, making earlier all-copper pennies more desirable to many collectors. That means your 1980 penny isn't just a piece of pocket change, it's part of the last years of the solid copper era, giving it added historical significance. Think about it this way, the pennies you come across from 1980 might seem ordinary, but if you find one in perfect condition, or one with a dramatic mint error, you could be holding a coin that collectors will pay thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars to own. The thrill of discovery is what drives so many people to check their change and to search through coin rolls, hoping to stumble upon that one rare piece that changes everything. Now, after exploring the design, the history, the condition, and the errors, it's time to reveal just how valuable a 1980 Lincoln penny can be. While most examples are worth only a cent, the rarest of the rare, those flawless, high-grade, or error-filled coins, have achieved breathtaking prices in the collector's market. And in one astonishing case, a single 1980 Lincoln penny was valued at an incredible $79,000, yes, you heard that right, $79,000 for a single penny that many people would pass over without a second glance. This is the beauty of coin collecting. It's about history, it's about art, it's about the joy of discovery. And it's about the possibility that something so small and seemingly insignificant could hold such extraordinary value. So here's my challenge to you, go check your change. Look through your old jars of coins, your piggy banks, or even those rolls of pennies you might have lying around. Pay attention to the details. You never know when a coin from 1980, or any year, could turn out to be the treasure of a lifetime. Top 2. We're diving into one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in American coinage, the Lincoln penny from the year 1984. At first glance, a penny from 1984 may not look like much. It's small, it's copper-colored, and it has been in our pockets and change jars for decades. But as you're about to discover, some of these coins are worth far more than 1 cent, and in certain cases, they've stunned collectors with values that seem almost unbelievable. So stay tuned until the very end, because this is one story you don't want to miss. The Lincoln Cent has been one of the most enduring and iconic coins in the United States. First struck in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the design quickly became a national favorite. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln on the obverse has been a constant reminder of America's 16th president, the man who preserved the Union and ended slavery. By 1984, the Lincoln Cent had already been in circulation for 75 years, but it was still just as familiar and widely used as ever. Let's take a closer look at the coin itself. On the obverse, we see the classic bust of President Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head, the motto, "In God We Trust," stretches across the rim. To the left is the word "Liberty," and to the right you'll find the date, 1984. Depending on where the coin was minted, you might also see a small mint mark. A D represents the Denver Mint, while the absence of a mint mark means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The reverse of the coin in 1984 still featured the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 by Frank Gasparo. This design replaced the earlier, wheat ears, reverse, and it became instantly recognizable to generations of Americans. The Lincoln Memorial design carries a fascinating detail. If you look closely between the columns, you can actually see the tiny figure of the seated Lincoln statue, just as it appears inside the real memorial in Washington, D.C. Above the building are the words, "United States of America," below it the denomination, 1 cent, and right above the memorial, the motto, "E Pluribus Unum." Now, here's where things get really interesting. By 1984, the Lincoln Cent was no longer struck primarily from copper as it had been in earlier decades. In 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned to a new composition, a zinc core coated with a thin layer of copper. These new pennies weighed just 2.5 grams, compared to the older 3.11 gram copper cents. This transition created a fascinating dividing line for collectors. Pre-1982 copper cents are often hoarded for their metal content, while post-1982 cents, like those from 1984, hold their value not for the metal itself, but for their rarity, errors, and condition. and this is exactly what makes the 1984 Lincoln penny such an exciting coin for collectors. Although millions were produced, a handful of them stand out because of unique and unusual characteristics. One of the most famous is the 1984 doubled ear variety. On certain pennies struck that year, a doubling can be seen on Lincoln's earlobe, giving the appearance of a second ear. This striking error, created during the die-making process, is one of the most popular modern doubled dies, and collectors actively hunt for it, but that's not the only thing to look for. Off-center strikes, die cracks, broad strikes, and even coins with clipped planchets have been found among 1984 pennies. Each error is like a fingerprint of the minting process, turning what might otherwise be a 1-cent coin into a rare treasure worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The more dramatic the error, the more valuable the coin can be. Condition also plays a huge role in value. While circulated examples are common and worth very little, coins that have survived in pristine, mint state condition are far more desirable. Professional grading services assign numerical grades to coins, with 70 representing perfection. A 1984 Lincoln penny graded at the very top of the scale, especially with a rare error, can command jaw-dropping prices at auction. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you held a penny from the 1980s without giving it a second thought? Most of us probably have dozens lying around in drawers, jars, or even old wallets. Yet among these ordinary coins could be a hidden gem that collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums to own. That's the magic of coin collecting. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, and it rewards those who pay attention to the smallest details. So, what should you do if you come across a 1984 penny? First, look closely at Lincoln's ear. Use a magnifying glass or even your phone's camera zoom to check for signs of doubling. If you notice that second earlobe, you may be holding something very special. Next, check the coin's overall condition. Does it still have its original luster? Are the details sharp and crisp? If so, it may be worth submitting to a grading service for authentication and evaluation. And now, after exploring the history, the design, the minting process, the errors, and the condition factors, it's time to reveal just how valuable a 1984 Lincoln penny can be. While most are worth only a cent, the rarest and most extraordinary examples have sold for truly incredible sums. And in one remarkable case, a 1984 Lincoln penny reached the astonishing value of $77,000. Yes, you heard that right, a simple penny, struck in 1984, something that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground, achieved a value of $77,000. This is why collectors never stop searching. Every coin tells a story, and every pocketful of change holds a possibility. For coin lovers, the thrill isn't just in the value, it's in the discovery, the connection to history, and the excitement of knowing that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprises. So, coin enthusiasts, the next time you come across a 1984 penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. Who knows, you might just find your own hidden treasure. Top 3. We're diving into a story that shows just how powerful a single penny can be. At first glance, the Lincoln penny from 1995 might seem like just another common cent, something you've probably handled hundreds of times without a second thought. But some of these coins are far from ordinary. In fact, a handful of 1995 Lincoln pennies have shocked collectors with incredible rarity, fascinating minting errors, and jaw-dropping values. Stick with me until the very end, because the price I'll reveal will make you look at every penny in your pocket in a whole new way. The Lincoln cent has a special place in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln on his 100th birthday, it was the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure rather than a symbolic design. For more than a century, the Lincoln penny has been a constant companion in everyday life, and every year brings new stories of rare varieties and unique minting quirks. By 1995, the penny had already transitioned from a solid copper coin to the copper-plated zinc version introduced in 1982, weighing 2.5 grams and showing the familiar reddish-brown finish. Now let's take a closer look at the design. On the obverse side, we see Abraham Lincoln facing right, designed by Victor David Brenner, a portrait that has become iconic across the world. The words, "In God We Trust," curve above his head, liberty rests on his left side, and the date 1995 appears to the right. Some pennies also carry a small mint mark beneath the date. A D indicates the Denver Mint, while no mint mark means it came from Philadelphia. The reverse still carried the Lincoln Memorial design, which had been introduced in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Designed by Frank Gasparo, this reverse is packed with fascinating detail. The grand steps, the towering columns, and yes, even the tiny figure of the seated statue of Lincoln can be seen inside the memorial when viewed closely. Above it all is United States of America, while E pluribus unum sits between the building and the denomination, 1 cent, at the bottom. But what makes the 1995 Lincoln penny truly special are the errors and varieties that slip through the mint's quality controls. One of the most famous is the 1995 double die obverse, often referred to simply as the 1995 double die penny. In this remarkable error, the doubling appears most clearly on the inscriptions, Liberty and In God We Trust. This happened because during the die-making process, the design was impressed twice at slightly different angles, creating the appearance of overlapping letters. To a collector, spotting this doubling is like striking gold. It instantly transforms an ordinary coin into something rare and desirable. The 1995 double die variety is one of the most popular modern errors because it's dramatic enough to be seen with the naked eye, yet subtle enough that many people overlooked it in their change. For collectors, that makes it both historically interesting and highly valuable. Even today, new examples still turn up in circulation from time to time, thrilling anyone lucky enough to find one. But that's not the only thing collectors look for. Other rare 1995 pennies include those with off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet wasn't perfectly aligned during the strike. Then there are broad strikes, coins that spread too far outward during minting, and even clipped planchets where part of the metal blank was cut off before striking. Each of these mistakes tells a story of how coins are made, and each one carries a unique kind of collector value. Now, condition plays a critical role in the price of a 1995 penny. A circulated coin with scratches, discoloration, or where will only be worth face value. But an example in mint state condition, with full luster and no visible flaws, becomes a collector's dream. When combined with a major error like the double die, the value can increase dramatically. Coins that have been certified and graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC often bring in the highest prices at auction. What's so fascinating about the 1995 penny is that it shows how even modern coins that were minted in huge numbers, coins that are still common in circulation, can contain hidden treasures. Millions of people have handled these pennies, but only the most observant eyes will spot the rare varieties. That's part of the thrill of coin collecting. It's a treasure hunt that can start in your very own pocket change. Imagine the excitement of finding a coin that everyone else overlooked. To most people, it's worth 1 cent. But to a knowledgeable collector, it's a valuable piece of history, a unique mistake that the mint never intended, and a prize worth holding onto. That's the magic of the 1995 Lincoln penny. So, if you come across a penny from 1995, don't dismiss it as ordinary. Look closely at the lettering. Inspect the word Liberty and the motto, In God We Trust. If you notice that doubling effect, you could be holding a coin that collectors will pay a small fortune to own. And now comes the most exciting part, the value. While many 1995 pennies are just worth a cent, and some double dies might bring in hundreds or even thousands depending on condition, the rarest examples have reached astonishing prices at auction. In fact, one extraordinary 1995 Lincoln penny has been valued at an incredible $75,000, yes, you heard that correctly, $75,000 for a coin that most people would never think twice about. This is the reason why collectors, hobbyists, and treasure hunters keep their eyes open. It proves that you don't need gold or silver to find fortune. Sometimes, the smallest and most overlooked coin can hold the greatest surprise. So the next time you see a penny from 1995, take a moment to inspect it. It might just be your chance to uncover a hidden gem and join the list of collectors who have turned pocket change into real treasure. Top 4. We are exploring a coin that most people never think twice about, the 2005 Lincoln penny. You've probably seen one dozens of times in your change, maybe you've tossed it into a jar, or even ignored it on the ground. But what if I told you that certain examples of the 2005 Lincoln penny are hiding secrets that make them extremely rare and highly valuable? By the end of this video, you'll see why collectors are hunting for this modern cent, and why some of them are willing to pay an unbelievable price to own one. The Lincoln Cent is one of the longest-running coin series in United States history, first introduced in 1909. By 2005, the design had already been in use for nearly a century. The obverse still carried the portrait of Abraham Lincoln by Victor David Brenner, with the date, 2005, on the right side and, depending on where it was minted, a small letter underneath. If you see a D, it was struck at the Denver Mint, and if there's no mint mark, it came from Philadelphia. The reverse of the 2005 penny still featured the Lincoln Memorial, a design created by Frank Gasparo and used from 1959 until 2008. It's a design that has fascinated collectors for decades because of its hidden details. If you look closely with a magnifying glass, you can even spot the tiny seated statue of Abraham Lincoln inside the memorial. It's an incredible detail that reminds us how much thought and artistry went into even the smallest coins, but now let's talk about what makes some 2005 pennies so special. Like many modern coins, the 2005 Lincoln Cent was made from a copper-plated zinc planchet, weighing 2.5 grams. Billions were minted, which means most of them are extremely common and worth only their face value. However, a small number left the mint with remarkable errors that make them stand out. One of the most fascinating errors is the double die variety. In this type of error, part of the design is struck twice at a slightly different angle, creating a ghost-like doubling effect. Collectors search closely at the motto, "In God We Trust," the word "Liberty," and the date, 2005. If you see strong doubling in these areas, you're holding something special. Another error that makes the 2005 penny valuable is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet isn't properly aligned in the press, so part of the design is missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more collectors will pay for it, especially if both the date and the mint mark are still visible. There are also examples of clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is missing because the metal blank was cut incorrectly before it was struck. These odd-looking coins attract collectors because they represent a physical mistake in the minting process that should never have made it into circulation. Another exciting error to look for is a struck-through error. This happens when a piece of debris, like grease or fabric, comes between the die and the planchet during striking, leaving unusual marks or impressions on the coin. These varieties are unique because no two struck-through errors are exactly alike. What makes the 2005 Lincoln penny especially fascinating is that it shows us how modern coins, even from the 21st century, can still slip through with rare mistakes. And because so many collectors dismiss modern pennies as too new to be valuable, the 2005 penny often goes overlooked, making discoveries even more thrilling when they happen. Condition also plays a major role in determining value. A 2005 penny that's been heavily circulated with scratches, nicks, and fading color will only be worth 1 cent. But if you find an uncirculated example with a sharp strike, full red luster, and no visible marks, the value goes up significantly. When that condition is combined with a dramatic minting error, the price can skyrocket. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC with labels such as MS-65 or higher often sell for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars. Now, why does this matter so much to collectors? It's because error coins tell a story. They are reminders that even with all the technology and precision of the United States Mint, mistakes still happen. And when they do, they create something rare, something different, something worth treasuring. To hold a 2005 penny with a dramatic error is to hold a piece of history that almost shouldn't exist at all. Imagine walking into a store, receiving change, and noticing something unusual about one of your pennies. You take a closer look, maybe with a magnifying glass, and realize you're staring at doubling on the date or an off-center strike that makes the design look crooked. That moment of discovery is what excites collectors all over the world. It's the thrill of the hunt, the idea that treasure could be hiding in plain sight, and here's the best part, these rare coins don't always come from a dealer or an auction. Many have been discovered by ordinary people checking their pocket change, coin jars, or old collections passed down through family members. That's why collectors always encourage others to look closely at their coins, because you never know what you might find. Now comes the moment you've been waiting for. While most 2005 Lincoln pennies are worth just a cent, and some era varieties bring in a few hundred or even a few $1,000s, there exists one extraordinary example of this coin that stunned collectors at auction. Its rarity, condition, and era combined to push the value far beyond what anyone expected. That 2005 Lincoln penny sold for an astonishing $72,000, yes, $72,000 for a coin that many people would walk past without a second glance. This is why the world of coin collecting is so fascinating. A tiny piece of copper-plated zinc, something made in the billions, can suddenly become a treasure worth more than most cars or even a down payment on a house. So, the next time you come across a 2005 penny, don't ignore it. Look carefully. Study the date, the letters, the design. That 1-cent piece in your hand might just be worth a fortune. Top 5. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern coins, the 2008 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it may seem like an ordinary cent that you've probably handled thousands of times without a second thought. But certain examples of the 2008 penny are incredibly rare and can be worth serious money. So stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why collectors are chasing these coins and what makes them so valuable. The Lincoln Cent has a rich history, first struck in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. For decades, it has been one of the most iconic coins in America, and in 2008, it still carried the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse, a design that would soon be retired in 2009, making the 2008 issues among the last of their kind. On the obverse, we see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, with the date, 2008, proudly stamped on the right. Depending on the mint, you'll see either a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or no mint mark at all for Philadelphia. Billions of these coins were produced, and at first glance, there is nothing rare about them. But as any collector knows, rarity often hides in details that most people overlook. Now, let's explore what makes the 2008 penny so exciting for collectors. The first factor is errors. Minting errors can turn a common coin into a highly prized collectible. One of the most desirable is the double die error. In this variety, part of the design appears doubled, usually visible on the motto, "In God We Trust," the word "Liberty," or the date itself. On some 2008 pennies, strong doubling is visible, making these coins stand out instantly under a magnifying glass. Another error that adds huge value is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet is not properly aligned with the dies during striking, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted to the side. If the coin is off-center but still shows the date and mint mark, collectors go crazy for it. The more dramatic the off-center error, the higher the value. We also need to talk about clipped planchets. This happens when the metal sheet is cut improperly, leaving the coin with a curved or crescent-shaped cut. These oddities are easy to spot, and collectors love them because they visually demonstrate how mistakes happen in the minting process. Another type of rarity from 2008 comes from struck-through errors, where foreign material, like grease, cloth, or even another piece of metal, gets caught between the die and the blank coin. This creates unusual marks or missing details, making the coin one of a kind. No two struck-through errors are exactly alike, which makes them particularly fascinating. But perhaps the most exciting aspect of the 2008 penny is its timing in history. Remember, this was the last full year of the Lincoln Memorial design. In 2009, the U.S. Mint introduced 4 special reverse designs to celebrate the bicentennial of Lincoln's birth. That means the 2008 penny is part of the final chapter of a design that had been in use since 1959. Collectors often put extra value on last year of issue coins because they mark the end of an era. Condition also plays a massive role. A 2008 penny that has been in circulation, with scratches and discoloration, is only worth 1 cent. But if you find one in pristine condition, what collectors call mint state, the value can increase dramatically. Coins with sharp details, bright original luster, and no signs of wear can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, especially if they also feature a rare error. It's also important to consider proof coins. In 2008, the San Francisco Mint produced special proof sets for collectors. These coins are made with polished dies and specially prepared planchets, giving them a mirror-like shine. While proof pennies are common in sets, finding a flawless example graded PR 70 by a professional service like PCGS or NGC can bring an impressive value. What's truly fascinating is that many of these rare and valuable 2008 pennies are still out there in circulation. People spend them without realizing what they're holding. Imagine walking into a store, receiving a handful of change, and unknowingly getting a coin that could change your life. That's the thrill that keeps collectors searching through jars of coins, rolls from banks, and even pocket change. Collectors know that coins like the 2008 Lincoln penny are not just money, they are artifacts of American history. They tell the story of artistry, craftsmanship, and sometimes even human error. Each error coin is like a fingerprint of the minting process, unique and irreplaceable. Owning one is like holding a tiny piece of history that almost wasn't supposed to exist. Now, let's get to the part that everyone has been waiting for. While most 2008 pennies are only worth face value, and even error varieties might bring in hundreds or a few $1,000s, there exists an extraordinary example of the 2008 Lincoln penny that shocked collectors at auction. Because of its combination of rarity, condition, and a remarkable error, this single penny reached a staggering value. Yes, you heard that correctly. One special 2008 Lincoln penny was sold for an incredible $70,000. $70,000 for a 1-cent coin that most people would walk past without a second thought. That's the magic of coin collecting, the idea that treasure can be hiding in plain sight, disguised as ordinary pocket change. So the next time you come across a 2008 penny, don't ignore it. Look closely at the details. Check for doubling, examine for off-center strikes, study the edges for clipped planchets. You never know, your penny might be the next great discovery. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the secrets of the 2008 Lincoln penny, make sure to hit the like button, share this video with fellow coin enthusiasts, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories about coins that can be worth far more than their face value. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and always remember, hidden treasures are out there waiting to be found.